All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Bread Podcast, and it's a short week, the second of the season that the Bills are playing on a Thursday night, and very much like in the NFL, a short week means a short vanilla game plan podcast. We are not trying to rebuild our entire scheme this week, Dan. We are just trying to get out of this game with a W.
We just want to get out of this, JJ, healthy with a limited amount of our body parts on IR and, still try to give the people what they want as well.
Right.
I'm ready to get into it, man. I loathe short weeks, but if there was any way I would want to enter a short week, it would be after watching the Josh Allen performance we watched on Sunday. What were your thoughts, JJ? Let's dive right into it on Josh going pixie stick Josh and just lining up a line, snorting it, and then going out and playing on the field.
I just wonder, if did the NFL ever actually ban smelling salts? Because if they did, I'm pretty sure Josh Allen just replaced the smelling salts with cocaine, because that was like cocaine bear Josh Allen. Like that was, cocaine grizzly.
He had the smelling salts surgically implanted in his nostrils.
Ready to break on a moment's notice. I think that most Bills fans had this experience I did. My buddy George was down with us watching the game. And the first half, we were just like, oh, here we go again, right? Like the Bills looked slow, sluggish, mistake prone. The offense was sort of like, hemming and hawing and fitting and starting. And then the second half just broke wide open. A couple of turnovers, a couple of short fields, Josh Allen barreling in the end zone multiple times, hitting a couple of long pass plays. It was pretty awesome. It felt like the Josh Allen we've been missing.
It did. It felt like a throwback to 2021, and I referred to it a couple of times, I think, in our texts, but also on our socials too. It was classic early on in the game. Josh, I don't even know if he had the jitters. He was definitely pressing, but it felt more like this time around, JJ, he was just trying to kick off the rust. He had not been really unleashed in this downfield passing game all season, and he was trying to get his bearings. And initially in the game has those first couple of bad turnovers when the Bills also, I think, not coincidentally, don't have great field position. One of those coming in there literally in his own end zone. But I think once the Bills special teams games got going, gave Josh a more favorable field, you saw him more comfortable taking some risks in early downs. And listen, credit to Joe Brady too. He didn't try to put the general or the mayor. Didn't try to put the mayor back on Josh Allen here.
Right.
When
governor.
The governor. There we go. Didn't
That's
try
what
to
you're
put,
looking for.
I'm looking for a non-elected official.
That's the civil leader reference to limiting something that you're looking for, the governor.
Exactly. Yeah. He didn't try to put the governor back on Josh, but instead sort of leaned into it in the most responsible way you can when you see your QB1 going off on the field in the way that Josh was. Brady gave us everything we wanted. Early down play action was a factor in this game. The downfield passing game was a factor. And also, too, I mean, he was sending out more than 3 route runners at a time in his passing concepts to really, for once, put the opposing defense in conflict. And listen, that Tampa Bay defense, I get Jamel Dean got hurt earlier in that game. That's still a really good defense. And the Bills made some nice adjustments with how they were shifting to accommodate for some of those Todd Bowles pressures. And again, Brady just leaned into what Josh was giving him, and it worked well. It was the most in unison I have saw play caller and QB on this team in quite some time.
Well, I think it was not just the most in unison you saw, Josh Allen vibing with what was coming out in the play sheet, but it was also the receivers, including Gabe Davis and Tyrell Shavers, doing their job to be in the right space of the field with the right amount of effort. And especially that Tyrell Shavers long touchdown where he sort of dove for the hands catch. That was 6 seconds after the snap. That was not his route. His route was a very quick out, and he ended up extending it, finding open space, getting behind the defense, which is one of the things that we, in Gabe Davis's best times with the Bills, something he was excellent at, is the second reaction play, just find an open space in the field and run to grass. And I think that that's something that we have not seen from the Bills, the Bills with Josh Allen and this wide receiving core, other than Dalton Kincaid And again, occasionally, it's not been a consistent thing. So I think that was all an excellent kind of view of what the offense could be. Again, it's the kind of, you know, I was buoyed by the hope and positivity of the fact that the running game was largely shut down. James Cook was not finding a lot of space. The Buccaneers were following a little bit of what Miami's defensive game script was and selling out to stuff the run, especially spilling out with run blitzes to the outside gaps in that zone, kind of wide zone play that the Bills have been hitting so hard. And it was really not working for the Bills in the run game, and they found a way to pivot and use the pass game, which is the first time this season that it's been a team has shut down the run and the Bills have had a counterpunch.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make a great point about, and this is me about to give more flowers to Joe Brady. The Bucs were on that wide zone crack toss that we absolutely spammed against Carolina. The Miami Dolphins had it schemed really well. The Bucs had a good plan for it. To his credit, Joe Brady did not get stubborn and continue to call it over and over. He went to whatever the next tool in his toolkit was going to be in this particular game. Yeah, dude, I mean, we've been shading Brady a lot early on in the season for vanilla play calling, predictable play calling. I mean, we saw runs out of shotgun with Ty Johnson. We saw, as we mentioned, early down play action. We saw under center pass game get involved as well. I mean, just changing up some of his tendencies. And again, I think the first half was less Josh pressing and more this offense has not exercised those proverbial muscles all season. So we're finding everyone trying to reconfigure and reform how they were going to operate within this new set of play calls that Brady was getting out there. I mean, whenever you settle into something, eventually you're going to get comfortable with it and you're going to atrophy at some point. And this Bills offense just needed, a couple of quarters, maybe we can say 2.5 quarters to really kick the rust off, kick the soreness off some of those pass game muscles before they really unlocked it. And then Brady looked more comfortable as the game went on, getting into some of these more unconventional for him play sequences. It was Joe Brady's best game of the season, without a doubt. Now, do I think we can replicate this game plan or whatever actually happened on the field against Houston? Absolutely not. That defense is a different animal, but it was good to see the Bills be able to roll out some of these concepts to the effectiveness that they did.
And it was great to see Josh Allen with 3 rushing and 3 passing touchdowns, make a mark on the NFL that hasn't been done since Josh Allen last season, and before that since 1964. So pretty remarkable, whenever you see a game like that with our guy. And he seemed to be having fun, which I think is the thing that we've been kind of missing so far. Also, I found it interesting, and of course, we have to mention the fact that Keon Coleman being set inactive for missing or being late to the team meeting on Friday was a huge storyline of this game. Tyrell Shavers getting those snaps turned them into an excellent game in production. And also the thing that I noticed in this game that, if you're it could be frustrating if you're Keon Coleman or Keon Coleman stan. Tyrell Shavers is being used from the slot, which means that the person that they have lined up at the X is not restricted from being in that slot. It may just be that Keon Coleman hasn't shown that he's good at his assignments from that position, because it doesn't seem to be a play design issue. I think it's a Keon Coleman issue.
Mm-hmm. 8 minutes and 14 seconds. That's how long it took you to bring up Keon Coleman. I just want to note the time that hit.
I've bagged on him in almost every episode of the pod.
No, this is great restraint.
I finally have reason, even more strong reason to bag on him now. When you get benched as a healthy scratch in an NFL, NFL week, when you're supposed to be out there helping your team win a game, what more can be said? You're just not a professional.
Yeah, no, I get it. And this was for clear disciplinary reasons, missing that Friday meeting, I think, as you covered. So, the offense looked better without Keon. Everyone's role seemed to have a little bit more clarity, aside from, I would say, Khalil Shakir, who it still seems like Joe Brady just doesn't want to put him downfield in any intermediate route whatsoever at any point during the game. He had 1 catch for -3 yards in this game. Some of that, too, could have honestly been he has been battling injury, and the Bills didn't want to put a lot of volume on him. So we'll see kind of what this looks like against Houston. But yeah, I mean, Keon not being on the field is disappointing. And it's also, I think, I see a lot of social media arguments raging about, well, the Bills haven't used Keon right all year. What do you expect? Versus it's your job to show up. This is what you get paid for. You do what the team asks you to do. And I think all of that is absolutely fine, hypothetical conversation to have. But the reality is this wide receiver core, JJ, is still banged up. So for people saying we're not going to see Keon Coleman again this season, I mean, I would say pump the brakes on that a little bit, because Curtis Samuel's still battling injury, Khalil Shakir battling injury, McCole Hardman, Kansas City Chiefs great, we may never see again, and Gabe Davis only got about 50% of the snap share. They're still working him up from his debilitating injury from a year ago. Keon Coleman, it may not be this week, but Keon Coleman's gonna see snaps again for this squad, and it is in everyone's, I think, best interest to not necessarily use this moment as like a victory lap around what they do or don't think he is, but hope that in this moment, he can sort of regain some of that mental edge, that enthusiasm he had for the game, because this squad is definitely going to need him. Health has been one of the things that's been a constant for this team, in that they have been unhealthy in a variety of their positional rooms. Keon's going to see snaps again this year.
Yeah, and I'm not completely down on him if he shows up and proves it, right? Like, I can believe in a redemption arc. I think that we as a Bills fan base had our suspicions of Dawson Knox, who I don't think is worth his contract, but is a solid second tight end. I think that the fan base was frustrated with Spencer Brown. Turns out to be one of the best top 10, right tackles in the league.
Dalton Kincaid,
Cole Bishop. Like, we have seen developmental arcs of players on this team that are there currently turnaround. Terrell Bernard, wasted pick, and then last year looked excellent, or 2 years ago looks excellent. Last year looks good. Some reason this year doesn't look great, but I think that he had a good game this past week.
This was his best game.
Yeah, this was his best game. So I think and I know he also was dragging around an injury, so it might just be a sense of him kind of knocking that rust off too. So we'll see as that goes. But I do think that there's a lot of redemption arcs with this roster, and I'm not super hopeful or positive that Keon Coleman is going to be in that league with those players I mentioned. But you're absolutely right in that he's going to have the opportunity to prove it. If he has that in his bag, he's going to have a chance to show it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Let's switch to the defensive side of the ball
Yep.
here, because while it was Terrell Bernard's best game and Cole Bishop continues just to be, I would argue, the best safety we've had since maybe Poyer and Hyde at their peak. The rest of the defense, JJ, looked really, really bad. And unlike the offense, where we have seen some schematic shifts, we have seen some play sequencing changes and upgrades maximize the personnel on the roster, I don't think those same solutions are there for the defense. I think the defense is what it is at this point, and it could very well cost the Bills and force the Bills to see an early round exit in the playoffs this year. The run defense, I mean, they can't stop anyone. We've got Nick Chubb and Woody Marks coming up this week for the Houston Texans. Honestly, if I play fantasy football, I am dropping everyone I have. I'm picking up those two, and I'm letting them be my running back room this week, because they're probably going to run all over the Bills, especially with Davis Mills in the lineup as opposed to CJ Stroud. The run defense looks unfixable at this point. And JJ, that's by design. This is not a team that's ever wanted to stop the run. They are designed to stop the pass, and they need to rely on their offense to control and manage game script to go up 10, 14, 17 points, so that the run game is not even a factor for opposing teams. This is where the Buffalo Bills get into trouble, especially in a game like this, and like the Rams game last year and the Detroit Lions game last year, where you've got an offense that can go tit for tat with Josh, even on his best pixie dust day. You know what I mean? So I don't know that that's going to be the case with the Texans, but JJ, there was a lot in this Buccaneers game where you look down the road at our schedule. There are some concerning matchups coming up for sure. What are some of the things you saw from the defense that you want to specifically call out?
Um, yeah, I think that again, Cole Bishop had a good game. We already mentioned that Terrell Bernard looked good. I think Christian Benford had some snaps where we saw more of his old form, Christian Benford. Um, Deion Walker graded out surprisingly well in the face of, Sean Tucker of all people undrafted out of Syracuse, um, going off for. I didn't have it on my bingo card that guy would get what was like 3 touchdowns and 200
Like
yards from scrimmage.
240 flipping
Yeah,
whatever.
right. So like, yeah, I think that all of that was very surprising, and it seemed like the Buccaneers, other than some errors here and there in high critical, money downs, were running up and down the field at will. And so I think that it was um, it was the quintessential Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things and the bend but don't break defense. And I think that we're seeing Joey Bosa starting to slow down a little bit. I think that Greg Rousseau, as we've always said, is a role player who really needs somebody bringing the heat from the opposite side for him to shine, and is still. This game wasn't great for him, but I think still offers as a plus defensive end against the run. And so, yeah, I think that what we're seeing is like what the team looks like while they're suffering major injuries to Ed Oliver, Michael Hoyt, having an old kind of past his prime Ogunjobi, old past his prime, and coming back from injury to Quan Jones. Hopefully he stays healthy because he was one of the bright spots in the game. And so I think that there's a lot of defensive. Milano still looks old and cooked a little bit here and there. He was getting washed out in a couple of those run fits where Tucker was breaking one. So yeah, I think overall it's the same defensive worries that we have had in the past, and I think specifically the defensive pass rush not being able to heat up Baker when they were in must pass mode was a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the four-man pass rush has been good this year, but we had noted in our pregame that Baker does not respond well to extra rushers. And the Bills chose to rely, I think, more on that four-man pass rush. And I mean, listen, it's been great this year at times, and then at other times it looks completely washed out. And I think that is the story of the Buffalo Bills. And I want to have this larger conversation with you, JJ. This is the story of the Buffalo Bills defense under Sean McDermott, where we say it's this high floor unit. We know what we're going to get, but they really want to play one way, and they're only built to beat one thing, and that's the pass game. And everything else sort of hinges off of that. The four-man pass rush has disappeared at times. We noted that they didn't get a single sack on Tua this year, going up against that Miami Dolphins offensive line that is suspect at best. Yet a significantly upgraded Kansas City offensive line is one that they dominated, right? Due in large part, I know, to the back end coverage that was wildly improved in that KC game. But still, there has not been the consistency of the four-man pass rush in the McDermott era. There has not been the consistency of the run defense game, and there has not been the consistency in coverage. We've seen individual players in this scheme that tries to hide so many of your weak spots in zone get picked on. The Dane Jacksons of the world, the Levi Wallaces of the world. This year it's been Trey White. JJ, listen, I think you and I both are still semi-hopeful that this season ends the way we wanted to for the Bills, which is with a Super Bowl championship, one before we die. But the reality is that if the Bills make the playoffs, it's probably an early exit this year, in no small part to this defense. Are we at the point where if Sean McDermott comes back for this would be year 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next year.
Yep.
If he is allowed to come back for season 10, do you Nick Sirianni him? And do you say, you are going to come back, but you need to pick coordinators that go against your specific philosophy?
Mm-hmm.
Do they go out and they invite a Wink Martindale in? Or do they try to snatch a Brian Flores away from Minnesota? Bringing in somebody that has the opposite philosophy of McDermott on the defensive side of the ball and give them the runway to build out what this defense needs to look like in their own image, not his.
I don't think so. And I don't think so, not because I don't think it's a good idea. I think it'd be a good idea because we've seen this defense crumble in the playoffs in critical moments, even in the regular season in critical moments. We've seen that. And I think that what we would see is in the event that it's not Sean McDermott's defense, it's that he's been relieved as head coach. Like, I think that's the only reality where he's not having a strong influence on the defense. I think it's this defense, sadly, unless he's out the door.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Man, part of me holds out hope, that
Yeah.
if we're going to get year 10 of McDermott, someone wakes up and is like, listen, man, we've seen a decade of this defense. It's not doing it. We've got to do something different.
It always gets cooked against any elite offense. Can we please change this?
Just ruined. All right, man. Let's transition over to the Houston game because it is a short week and we have a game coming up the day after tomorrow. Houston Texans going to be without their lead quarterback, CJ Stroud, still in concussion protocol here on a short week for them as well. JJ, I think this whole thing begins and ends with this Buffalo Bills offense against this violent, ferocious, terrifying, fun to watch when they're not playing your team, Houston Texans defense. JJ, what do you think are going to be the factors for the Bills just to survive this game healthy?
I mean, okay, so they absolutely have to set a tone with physicality. The Houston Texans have the number 1 overall EPA per play defense in the league, number 1 overall pass defense in the league based on EPA per play, and then the 4th best run defense in the league based on EPA per play. They are not to be trifled with. Like, if the Bills don't show up this is a terribly hard thing to do, show up on the road in a building they've never won a game in, and set the tone from the first snap, it's going to be, it's probably going to be close at the end. I could see the Bills, making a game of it, but I could also see it just being like either a Pyrrhic victory where they get so beat up that, they need the extra 3 days of rest going into the following week at Pittsburgh, or a loss with even greater losses, physically to their team. So I'm worried about this one. The Houston Texans are basically built to exactly counteract everything that the Buffalo Bills bring to the table. They have a large and dominating defensive front four. They have solid outside corners. They have a good safety duo. And it's the kind of game that they have excellent, fast coverage linebackers. It's the kind of game where all the buttons the Bills usually press to take advantage, the classic, like, where's Waldo situation, that's not going to work here. They're not going to be able to find too many chinks in the armor.
No, I agree. And that piece about the linebackers is the one that sticks out most to me. Listen, we all know about Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter. We all know about Will Anderson Jr. Danico Autry. We know about the studs they have on this defense, but that linebacking core, JJ, what we didn't see Tampa Bay do a whole ton is run out that sort of mug coverage look to try to hide some of their coverage plan and then keep a linebacker spy on the line of scrimmage against Josh. And I think not coincidentally, this was Josh's easily best running game of the season. But that's because, you've got Levante David out there for Tampa Bay, and Todd Bowles has done an amazing job extracting the last bit of good football out of him that he can, but he no longer has the sideline to sideline juice to keep up with a guy like Allen. Azeez Al-Shaair, however, absolutely does. And that guy takes it as a personal insult if he is not flagged for a roughing the passer penalty every game. So you can bet that even though he's dealing with a knee injury right now, according to the injury report, if he goes, you can bet that he is going to be glued to Josh and making sure that he is not allowed to escape the pocket whatsoever. So assuming that the Texans can successfully take Josh's running game away like Miami did, like other teams have, it's going to come down to, I think, taking advantage of the aggression of these edges. We have already mentioned Will Anderson Jr. You've got Danielle Hunter on the other end. They love to pin their ears back and come for it. But off the edges, when you look at their splits between running outside the tackles versus inside the tackles, these guys can be had a little bit. Now, I will say, teams are onto this crack toss game that Joe Brady is rolling out there, so he's going to have to find another wrinkle. But I think the game plan's got to start with getting James Cook involved early. Like you said, setting the tone on that offensive line to let our guys push and maul a little bit, but really let James Cook dictate the tempo of this game. Because if you put Josh out there and he starts slinging it down the field against this secondary in the same fashion they did in the first half of that Tampa Bay game, Houston is the type of defense that can a type of defense that can make you pay for that in a way that Tampa Bay couldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I do think that the other problem that the Bills have on offense with the run game right now is teams are basically they're just mirroring Reggie Gilliam and having their best linebacker fly to wherever the heck on the field Reggie Gilliam is inserting because they know that that's where James Cook is going to be. And
Or a
so,
safety. I mean, I've
yeah,
seen
right.
safeties flow to that position too recently.
Well, exactly right. They send some mirror match to Reggie Gilliam to blow up the block and then have somebody fill behind. It's really a kind of 2-man game to shut down that run play because it's basically just follow Reggie Gilliam, follow Deion Dawkins, or follow Jackson Hawes, and you're gonna know exactly where James Cook is on every play. So unless Brady needs to pivot off of that in some ways to have some kind of misdirection, some counter plays where the strength of the blocking and the kind of usual suspects for leading through the hole are maybe leading through a false hole, and then we're doing some different things with angles. So without that counterpunch, I think that they're gonna need to find way different ways to get James Cook involved because the way it is right now, scheme wise, the scheme isn't winning any battles. So essentially, it comes down to each of the offensive linemen and other insert blockers and the wide receiver, tight ends, and fullback to win their one block, and for all of them to win their one block. Right? Like you can't have run design like that. Usually, is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Somebody loses a block on each run.
And then what you would build off of the run game, what we saw in the Tampa Bay game, early down play action to keep the defense guessing. JJ, this is also the number one team in the Houston Texans, the number one team in defensive EPA per play when defending play action. They don't bite on misdirection. They don't bite on motion. They're extraordinarily well coached and well disciplined. And again, super physical. I think this is going to be a really, really tall order for this Buffalo Bills offense in its current state. Even if Josh decides to go Super Saiyan, I really do think this is going to be a really tall order for the Bills to put up some points against this defense. Let's switch. Do you have any more thoughts on the Bills offense against the Texans defense, or you want to move over to the other side?
No, let's flip it around.
All right. I implore anyone listening here, if you are not rostering Nick Chubb and Woody Marks on your fantasy football team, do so before this game, friends, and thank us on Friday morning after this game is done. Because JJ, listen, this Houston Texans offensive line has a ton of questions behind it. Davis Mills is capable as a backup, but he is not the threat from the pocket that CJ Stroud is. One would think that what that is basically going to mean is that the Buffalo Bills defense is going to be able to sit back and actually load up to stop the run game. And I'm not confident that they can. And I don't have any other sophisticated analysis beyond that. This is a squad that has struggled with the run game, and I think they're going to continue to struggle with it here.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And it's not even like this offensive line isn't a bunch of world beaters, but it is some capable, large human beings. And I think that especially with, DaQuan Jones still coming slow to return, TJ Sanders slow to return, Bosa definitely dealing with some kind of wrist thing. It's a situation where Bernard, Milano are both getting they're like bottom 10 in the league in run fills as linebackers right now. They're getting swallowed up. And so I can see that happening in this one as well, especially like you said, if they're not going to lean on Davis Mills slinging it all over the yard, expect to run early and often. And I think it's going to be pretty successful.
Yeah, I do too. And that is very likely going to take the air out of the ball, keep Josh off the field for long stretches, which I think is the path for Houston to win this game. When they do need to sling it, Nico Collins is still on this roster. I would expect, even though he's dealing with an ankle injury, he's been a full participant in practice so far early on. I would anticipate that you're going to see Benford shadow Nico a lot. Now, in fairness, last year in that Houston game that broke us all, that was the game last year that broke Bills Mafia. We didn't have Christian Benford on the field. We didn't have Taron Johnson on the field. Do you see them being able to make a difference in limiting this passing game should the game script flip in the favor of the Bills?
I think so. I'm not afraid of Nico Collins because I think he's their only. I mean, Dalton Schultz and Nico Collins are really the only people to worry about in this one. it's not, they don't have a super high powered, especially with Davis Mills back there. They don't have a super high powered passing attack, and their offensive line is not exceptional at pass blocking. So I think that there are chances to, and Davis Mills is also not an extreme athlete or known for his pocket savviness. So I'm not worried about the passing game. I'm pretty sure if the Bills can control game script and get ahead on the scoreboard, that they can do enough to stop Nico Collins. It just Bills Mafia, fair warning. He's going to get like a 3rd and 12. He's going to convert a 3rd and 12. He's going to find some open space on a long and late down seconds before Davis Mills is buried. And it's going to be so frustrating. But I can see that happening.
It really is. The other thing I could see frustrating the crap out of us, JJ, is us loading up to stop the run. And then Dalton Schultz leaking out of some of those run looks, because he's been a yak god at tight end this year. And he's been targeted at one of the highest rates on his route runs this season. I could see if you are the Houston Texans and you have a backup QB in, the opposing offense is going to sell out to stop the run, because that seems to be your most capable offensive phase. I could see them actually doing some things with Dalton Schultz that get him in the short yardage game, get the ball in his hands, and let him make plays let him make plays after the catch, which is something he's been doing successfully all season too. You have just given me a really fun over under for our prediction sure to go wrong based on your 3rd and 12 comment. So
okay.
I'm gonna keep that one in the chamber for the next couple minutes here. JJ, any further thoughts here before we do get to our prediction sure to go wrong for this game?
Just my general thought for the Bills to win this game, they need to establish physicality. They need to find ways and wrinkles in the run game to overcome what is a monumental task in this Houston defense. And then on defense, the Bills need to be stout against the run. They need to make tackles. They cannot miss tackles in this game. And their coverage needs to marry and complement the pass rush, or it's going to be a long Thursday night.
Yeah. Long day. Do we finally see Max Hairston here on the short week take over the CB2 role in a more full-time capacity? He's still been limited, or I shouldn't say limited, splitting reps with Trey White, but do we see more Max Hairston this game?
I think we see the same amount of Max Hairston. I think they're going to give him a full week of practice before they do that kind of transition. It feels like the kind of thing where, again, brand new, first time in the league, never played on Thursdays probably, anytime before. So short week feels like the kind of thing you don't really put the rookie through to give him the full snap share.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Man, I would say though, week 14, week 15, we've got to get him ramped up. We should see him in that role.
99% of the snaps has to come this season for him.
It's got to. All right, JJ, prediction sure to go wrong. Here we go. The line on this game is Bills -6. God, I hate you, Vegas. You suck. Over under on this game 43.5. That seems high for this game.
Yeah. Smash the under, folks.
That seems high. We are not professional bettors. Don't take our betting advice, but this is a really good defense going up against a backup QB. Oh God. All right. My prediction's not going to leave the teens. All right, JJ, final score prediction. What do you got?
Bills 24, Texans 21.
Seems to be a popular score that we're going with here recently. Yeah. All right. So you are in fact going to take that. That's the over, if my math is right.
Oh wait.
That's the over. Yep. You're going to take the over.
Okay.
And you're going to take the Bills to not cover, which is fine, and the Bills to win. JJ, karma is our friend. Every time I've picked the Bills to lose a football game this season, they have won. And the Houston Texans game was one preseason that I had picked them to lose. I had actually picked them to go on a little 2-game mini losing streak here against Tampa Bay and against Houston. Josh Allen is 0-3 in Houston. It's literally some of his worst moments as a professional football player have happened in the city of Houston. I don't know what it is. He just doesn't like playing football there. Add to the fact, too, that this is a short turnaround against a very violent and capable defense. I am going to go Texans 19, Bills 17.
Nice. Yeah,
I
that's
think
the
this is
under.
going to be a
Yeah.
disastrous, horrible, low scoring. We're going to want to pull our hair out affair on Thursday night.
Uh,
Um, there's a path for the Bills to win, and
yeah.
I hope in my heart of hearts they do. But we need karma, man. I'm not going to pick the Bills to win another game this season until I pick them to lose and they actually lose, or
Okay.
until I pick them to lose and they actually lose. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, I understand. No, and that's fair. So I like the prediction, and you did hit the under as we'd advised people to do. I find it hard to believe that. My biggest thing is the Bills' offense. As much as we have complaints about it, it's hard to believe they score under 20 in a game, but we'll see. And then the Bills' defense is so leaky that the concept of them not letting another team score over 20 is preposterous to me.
I think we just see both teams take the air out of the ball. I really do.
It's like just a nasty. It's like the old Cleveland Browns Bills like 6-3 punts game or something like that.
It could happen,
or three field goals. Yeah,
it could happen. Like each of these teams could only get like 5 or 6 total offensive drives. Like it's just lining up to be a weird Thursday game like that. So all right,
and it's one of those games that you could see where like teams have long sustained drives with like 12 or 14 plays end in a turnover on the 7, and you're just like, come on.
100%, man. What do you have any prop bets for this one?
Just one. I would like to see Cole Bishop keep his kind of streakiness alive. Over under Cole Bishop, half of an interception.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over on that one. Nice. Cole Bishop absolutely killing it as far as I'm concerned. Really pleased with the level of effort that he's putting out there. Cole Bishop's the guy. He's the guy for sure.
He's doing great.
Cool. I got one quick over under for you, JJ, before we wrap this thing up. Over under 2.5 times the Houston Texans will convert a 3rd and 8 against the Buffalo Bills.
3rd and 8 or more.
3rd and 8 or more.
Oh, over under 2.5.
Yeah.
Oh, over. Yeah. No, it's going to be a minimum of 4 times.
Yes.
And it might
even
with
Davis Mills.
Those might be the only 3rd down conversions they convert, but those are going to be the backbreakers that are like, come on, like how could you get 19 yards on a 3rd and 17? Like,
yep. Absolutely. It's going to suck. It's going to be terrible.
It's going to hurt so bad. Yeah.
It is going to hurt. It is going to hurt. But hopefully, folks, listening to this podcast doesn't hurt you. We appreciate you joining us here on the short turnaround, and hopefully you're going to enjoy watching some Bills football on Thursday. For all of you at home, like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Google, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And as always, go Bills.
Go Bills.